Soundstripe. Welcome to South End Supporters, the St. Louis City SC podcast, powered by Ready to Live Wellness, and coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear Studio. Eric Cole alongside the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff, as our buddy DH is in the Big Apple tonight, so he will not be joining us. So for tonight, you've got the St. Louis City EC along with the double MCB coming at you. Dave, how we doing tonight?
I like it. Did you just come up with that? I really like that.
I thought of it the other day, and I was like, I don't know why it popped into my head, because I just kept getting like stuck on still like the SC. Like it's so
Yeah.
you just don't really see that even in America. So I was like, man, I just was rattling it off real quick, and I was like thinking of like custom jerseys or something like that maybe, because I was talking a lot with Kyle about getting one of those No Goal Patrol jerseys because they're just sick, and seeing them in person, they're even like nicer.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, maybe I would customize it. And I was seeing some of the stuff people were putting in the Discord as far as what they were going to put. I think Jay Clem was talking a lot about rat or something like that. I got to get behind the story on that. So, yeah, just flowing on that. But, yeah, who knows? It's not too
I
bad,
think
I
it
guess.
costs extra to put three numbers on there, but I think it would be funny to put like RACLE under the name and then 204 as the number. I think that would be,
that
I
would
don't even
be,
know if they
yeah.
could fit that. That's a lot of lettering.
One of my favorite things is when they catch people in the crowd and the jerseys are just so fun and
Yeah.
customizable that it's just
Yeah.
like you're thinking, how did they even come up with that?
My only problem with can you read it off again? The STLSCEC? Is that what it was?
St. Louis City EC.
St. Louis
Rather
City
than
EC.
the
So
SC.
it's well documented that we have another EC that we play soccer with on Thursdays.
This is true.
So we might need to add like some sort of East Side identifier for you. I don't know. Like I know who we're talking about, but like I don't want to get a little confused. But it's all good.
This
I
is
like
true.
it. Very creative.
We've been keeping up with him as EC, so that would be
Yeah.
kind of trudging in on his territory. Well, if he wants to claim it, it's like when a player signs with another team and they know somebody has that number, they buy it off him. So if EC
Yeah.
wants to come buy that off me, I'll on the go.
He just cost you like a Rolex or something to have the EC moniker. That's
He-
funny.
he's a
And
good
then
guy,
you'll
so
just
maybe
be-
we'll just
you'll
go
just
with
get
kolaches.
you'll just get Eric with a K on the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
not to jump ahead because he scored a worldie against City and was part of their demise, but I don't think that Anthony from the Timbers has earned single name status yet. Like I don't feel like any MLS players outside of Messi should be like single namers. I think that's just a personal pet peeve of mine, but like, come on, man.
I'm with you on that. I think you got to go earn that in a higher level or on the
Yeah.
world stage to where you get known as that. Because, I mean, I don't think Anthony for Man U deserves the single name either. So, I mean,
You mean Anthony from Real Betis is what you mean.
Yeah.
And that Anthony does
That
deserve
Anthony
the
does
single
deserve
name
the single
moniker.
name.
Yeah, absolutely.
you are correct. But yeah, we'll get into it as City fall once again late to Portland yesterday during Sunday Night Soccer. We'll go through the game, kind of break down what we noticed. I don't know about you, but it was a very positive looking St. Louis City for about an hour. And then unfortunately, it just looked like we kind of trekked back into old habits. Really, the old habits were happening throughout the game. Still, the glaring issue, just the finishing, left plenty of goals on the table. But to me, the biggest thing that jumped out was just, and this is something Critch really highlighted that he wanted to improve upon within the team, was them on the ball in possession. It just looks like so much more comfort on the ball rather than the panicky stuff, and getting away from the flashy stuff as well, or at least the flashy stuff in the right moments. Like, so that was the big standout to me, and especially if we're going to start this out positive. Like, what did you notice just throughout the game that you were really liking?
Yeah, I mean, we could start with the obvious that, again, City was shorthanded. No Leuven, no Durkin, no Wallum through suspension. Giannis Horn, injury, loan expiration. So a big time shorthanded side again. So I wasn't super enthusiastic about this team, mostly because you were missing, your core of your midfield. But when the lineup came out, it was very strong at the back and
Hmm.
very strong in the front four. So at least I thought that way. So it was I got a little more into it as I started to think about it, and then like you said, the first half, a lot of really strong possession. If you're into the momentum metrics and you go on Foot Mob, like City really owned the first 45, save for the last, let's say, 12 of the last 15 minutes or so. I think fatigue was a factor. It was this is a record hot day in Portland, and
Yeah.
you're on turf, and they had enough where they had to take a hydration break. And interestingly enough, the hydration break was where Portland kind of turned it on in the first half. But City missed some major, major chances, particularly in the first half. You had the double save that should have easily been a goal. You had, I think it was Betcher who got in behind on left
Hmm.
that should have
Yeah.
been a goal. Very easily could have been 2 or 3 nothing before halftime. I think the XG at half was like 1.2 to point zero 0.01, or it was
Something like that. Yeah.
some insane lopsided number that you did not expect. But I think fatigue played a major role in this game, and you kind of saw it play out mostly in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just get into the biggest issue, I think, is the finishing. Where I noticed, and especially on like those three chances that you're talking about, is when I was trying to explain this to my wife today, like when you're playing, and this is just for me personally, and you're lacking confidence when it comes to finishing or scoring the goal, what you tend to do, at least again for me, is try to overpower the ball and just strike it as hard as you can. And this is what I was noticing a lot, especially that Klaus volley that happened. That
It
should
was in the
be,
second half, but yeah,
yeah,
same thing. Yep,
that should be
absolutely.
something that you look a little bit more calm on the ball. Like that triple save, like the first shot, Klaus has to get that off. And, Watts, I think, does a decent job on the follow up. But then Hartle, it falls to him. And it's like, man, try and keep composure and get it on frame at least. You're 5 yards out from goal. Same with that Betcher. When he does all the hard work to get in behind the defense, he does the work to break it around, like you said, on the left. He cuts in on his favored right and then just tries to like overpower swing rather than just stay calm and composed and maybe finesse one far post, or maybe he tries that first shot that he does and catches him off guard near post. But he just tried to swing too hard, shanks it, goes out wide. Like there were just too many instances where I'm seeing that you could tell that these guys are just lacking the confidence and they're resorting to, I got to get this off and I got to get it on, quick, and they're just trying to pile drive one in and then feel that confidence back. That was the thing that I'm kind of starting to notice with these guys when it comes to their finishing, where you look a lot like last year, especially with people like Teutschert or even Klaus, a couple years ago. One of the things that we really praised is their composure when finishing these off. We're not really ever a team that I would say that you're noticing them bang the ball in, like just straight frozen ropes, top. It's usually more finessed and it's more composed. And that's where I've noticed like City's really kind of deferred away from, and you're going to get that when you're a team that's just struggling to put them in the back of the goal, is you're going to get these like panic shots and just try and get it off, get it on frame. Let me put this top bins and feel like good about it. I mean, I wish that would be something that you could work on in training, but that's something that's really tough to get unless you get in game time situation, that sort of confidence in finishing. Because I'm sure these dudes are banging it in all day throughout training, and it's looking great. But it can be a different factor when you're also fatigued and everything like that. To your point, coming out and then trying to maintain that composure for just a easy tap in finish or whatever you want to call it.
And maybe it's more of a sign of like true quality that there are really no like stone cold killer finishers on this squad. I
Hmm.
think about, you know, our quickest, our quickest comparisons are our Premier League teams, and I think about Chelsea, who are dynamic in the counterattack and just very creative with the ball and their 1-2s through the middle. And their biggest Achilles heel these last couple of years is they don't have a true number nine, and that's
Hmm.
really what's kind of kept them on the fringe to me of being a true Premier League championship contender as opposed to being a top four contender. in City's case, I think not having a dynamic poacher, just stone cold goal baron has really, really been a big reason that they haven't succeeded really over the last year and a half. You know, Klaus started off hot, and like you said, he's kind of lost his mojo. You know, I don't think that Marcel Hartrell is a polished finisher. I think he's much more of a playmaker. I would say the same thing for Azande Silva. Celio, I think, has a lot of quality, but he really disappointed me in this game. And I don't know if he just was not feeling the flow, but way too many trails and bailout square passes for me. He's got to be the one that's putting him in on net. This team has to manufacture goals to what you were alluding to. Like they're not throwing in 20-yard bangers, and they're not good off set pieces. So this team has to manufacture goals through, you know, connections and pullback crosses, gaining the end line, and they can't afford to miss, you know, half a dozen chances like this because, you know, the defense is not set up now to absorb pressure like it did when Olaf first came in. This team is set up to win, and you saw that when Anthony came down and leveled it up. You know, Tots, for all we praise Totland, you wouldn't say that his number one skill is being a one-on-one defender, and he got cooked with a little flick. And then I think HK the first, I don't know if he knew that he had support to push Anthony to the left, but that was a world-class finish, man. Like, there's no keeper in the world, I think, that's saving that ball. So kudos to, and the point being that I don't think City has someone that can just turn it on and do that whenever they want. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's disappointing. You're still creating the chances, but you're letting the little things fly under the radar. And I say that, you know, the goal that was scored was off a corner kick. The winning goal for Portland scored off a corner kick in stoppage time. And I don't normally agree with the Apple commentary. In fact, I thought last night was pretty much one of the worst that we've had in 3 years. And I include Twellman in that. And not necessarily just because I don't really care for his attitude about most things, but I thought he was just flat out bad. But they weren't wrong when they said when you make substitutions late, a lot of times the things that go uncommunicated are set piece assignments. And sure enough, either Ostrak or Zande Silva were supposed to be covering the top of the box, and nobody was. And Portland, that was a beautiful ball. I mean, a beautiful cross off the corner and a beautiful finish. So more power to him. But at the end of the day, like we've been saying all year, we can talk about all the silver linings and the positivity, but it's dropped points. I think I read somewhere where City have dropped points in 15 games, I think, in the last 2 years or something insane like that. It's like a total of like that went from 15 wins to 8 draws and 7 losses or something like that. Like, that's just wild to me, man. So
well, what was it? What was that other stat that they said throughout the night? I'm trying to remember it, but it was like 4, maybe 6 goals that were given up like with less than 5 minutes left in the game by City so far just this year. Like,
it was
that
like
to me,
it was like 9 post minute 70. So add another one to that now.
yeah. I mean, yeah, to your point, that because we gave up a goal, I remember, I think it was last year, and it was on, we made a substitution, and they were critical. They pointed it out, like, oh, they should have waited until after the play because they scored off a set piece.
Yeah.
And they were saying, because there is a lot of confusion when it comes to like that type of stuff. But I think also it shows a little bit of difference in where the two teams are right now when you have a calm, composed finish like that you did off a corner. Like you said, that's not that's a great ball, but it's also a very difficult ball to keep down and keep on frame, and where they did. And then, I mean, yeah, you look at the composure of Anthony when you flick somebody and then you come in and then just bend a worldie like that. I mean, that's going to be one of those goals that'll be up for goal of the week. I guarantee it. Like,
it should be. Yeah.
That's one of those goals that you kind of hold your hand up, but as far as City finishing out these games and just it's almost like they, after 3 chances that go by, they just kind of almost get this like, well, it's just not happening tonight, fellas. Like, it just like doesn't seem, because you look at that first half especially, it was like, man, like all we need is like one more, and I feel like we've got the short up because then I felt like the gates were going to open at that point. But when it just kind of kept happening and kept happening, it's just like, man, you could just see it like letting off more and more, and then also the things that we were doing so right throughout the first half were starting to go. You're starting to not hold possession as well. You're starting to not create these chances where you catch them off on the break. There were so many chances where, I mean, the other thing too is like we've got to get better at like timing our runs with these because there were so many times where it looked like, hey, that ball through would have really worked, but then you see the flag come up and it's just got to be there. It's the little things that we keep not doing correctly. Staying composed and finishing, keeping the runs offside, finishing out these games and staying mentally strong. Like you said, fatigue is there, but both teams are playing in that situation, and I would almost venture to say that our boys should be more accustomed to the heat than Portland should be at this point. I'm not saying that, either way, but it was just, I don't know. I texted you right after the goal happened. It was just like, same stuff, like different week. It's not finishing off these chances and then getting caught late on a mistake. And, that costs you. I'm frustrated. I was mad throughout about 60, thinking we're not going to come out of here with, or whatever time, we're probably not going to come out here with the full 3 points after Anthony's goal. But then I was furious to think we're not going to come out of here with anything. And I know, like you said, and you're right, it was a tough place to go, and it was always going to be a tough game. But it's more frustrating when you're looking at how the game was going. And then thinking like, man, we did all that work. We were making all these improvements right. But one thing that I do like is I think it shows that Critch has this team going in the right direction, or at least the style and, getting them going the way they were, because in 2 games so far, it feels like a night and day city from what we've been watching throughout the first half of the season.
Yeah, I think you can gauge just like the comments from the players and from Critch in the post game presser. Like, number one, Critch came out and said, he goes, we weren't here for a point. He goes, we wanted 3 points in Portland, and that's why he made the Zonde and Ostrak subs. Like, those were aggressive. I thought Ostrak would not see this game just because he's kind of a defensive liability, and he has a tendency to give the ball away in dangerous areas. But credit to him, he went for it even with a thin squad. And after the game, Hartle and Watts both kind of said they were kind of alluding to the fact that they can actually play a little free now. It's a system that allows them to kind of tap into their actual soccer ability rather than just absorb pressure and play balls in hopeful areas. So good to see that they're in the right mindset. I really like what Critch had to say about. He said he believes the game is played in 9 to 10 minute segments, and I really like that approach because it does, especially this game. This game felt like it was like, okay, one team surges, they hold a lot of pressure, then the other team relieves the pressure, and then they go down to the other end. That's what it felt like, at least like the first 60 minutes. And then City kind of petered out, and take that for what it is. Like you said, Portland is playing in the same conditions, but they didn't have the ravaged squad that you had. And credit to the subs. And I want to say, as much as we make light of Brendan McSorley and the whole like FanDuel betting odds thing, he played great yesterday in limited time. I thought he looked awesome. His hold up play was good. He drew 3 or 4 fouls. He probably could have had a goal if Zonde Silva dribbled with his head up, like we're taught when we were like 4 years old. But yeah. I thought he looked great. I thought Zonde looked okay. I thought he looked fast and did what we had to do. Ostrak didn't really have a major impact. JGR came in and looked a little shaky. Zielinski, how about Zielinski with the double block that would have made it 2-1 Timbers in like the 80th minute? It was in the 80s. He had come on shortly before that. Mm-hmm. He's got pace, and I really like Zielinski. I thought the subs looked great. It's really that it makes it even tougher. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it'd be one thing if they were just getting blown out every week, but they're right there. And it reminds me of there was a period that the Blues had, and I can't remember if it was pre Stanley Cup year or if it was even Stanley Cup year. It could have been like the Oshie era, who, by the way, retired from the NHL
I
today
saw that. Yeah.
after
Yeah.
16 years. So TJ Sochi. And there was a point where I think Doug Armstrong made the comment, like, we have to learn to stick the knife into our opponent's eye and kill him. And obviously, we're not talking about actual murder here, but City need that killer instinct, and they've got some young guys that have yet to develop that killer instinct and composure. But I have no other choice but to be optimistic. Unlike some of our fans, our co-fans on the socials, that just they're just ready to give up on the lack of talented players and fire Lutz and sell the team. It's just you'd think this club had been around for like 50 years and it had all this history of like the hard luck losers. Like,
Yeah. Right.
again, I say this, I say this again, like I've said half a dozen times. None of you have ever met an Everton fan, and it shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think City have it hard, go talk to an Everton fan.
My big suggestion to all those types of fans is just put your phone down for an hour. Just an hour. Because I get that same sort of, frustration. I think you saw it with the text directly post game. It's frustration. But then, it's like anything that gets you fired up. Like, if you give it a little bit of time, you sit back and think on it. Yeah, there were a lot of things that I took from that game that were the biggest thing that I thought, and I kept kind of feeling this throughout the game, is, man, the longer we let them stay in this game, home field's going to become a factor. And it did. I felt like early on in that game, we really subdued, which Portland is known for having a pretty good atmosphere at their stadium. We kept them pretty subdued because I think they were seeing like they weren't getting a lot of chances, and we were kind of really controlling the game well. But you could feel the longer that game went on, and the more that we were starting to miss chances, you were also starting to see their fans get a little bit more into it. And then you have a goal like Anthony's, and then you're thinking like, well, that ruckus is never going to come down from here on out. So
Yeah.
then you're really up against it. So not only are you fighting fatigue, then you're also fighting a fandom that's coming back into it. And then you're also fighting a team that's feeding off of that fandom that's coming back into it. So to that point, one thing, not only, and that can be vice versa, to where I like that I think you said Armstrong quote, where it's like, one of the biggest reasons we got to keep on these teams and put them away and just kill them, because if we're at home, it keeps the home fans in that game throughout. And, City has already got a great atmosphere and stuff, but when you keep it at red line the whole time, that really does affect players, as well as you've got to take on the road those home fans out of it and get them completely out of it, and then make them, not, because they're not feeding off that. They're not getting into it in late 90th minute if we're up by 2 goals at that point, so, which we rightfully should. Other thing I liked is that you brought up is, I'm really liking seeing what these young guys are doing as they're coming in. Just coming in with this hunger and sort of this maybe this can really play into sort of Critch's style of, like they've commented on, letting them play free. Because it almost seems like maybe if they came into like an Olaf type system where it's so just like constructed and back down and you can only do a certain thing and you're not really playing free as a young player, that can really like take you off your game. So yeah, I love that you brought up that Zielinski stop, because that was like I think his first major touch in the game was a slide tackle stick that he won possession on, and it was like, good, he's here for it. And then McSorley, man, who knows what he could have done under pressure with that ball slotted from Zonde, but man, there's been a couple times where it's like, again, we talked about Betcher earlier, but there's been quite a few games this year where Zonde's done all the hard work, and then either the shot on goal or looking for a slotted pass just seems to like let him go. And it's like,
No
man,
composure at the end. No composure.
Yeah, if he could just bring those things together. But you're also talking about, like, I thought Jay Reed had a pretty good another game.
Yep.
Just a lot of youth in this squad right now. The times that Joiner's come up, we've been pretty complimentary of his play. Like, I like that they just seem to come in and feel comfortable when they come in, because that's a sign of like, hey, if we do get into another situation like we had last year where we have to rely on these guys for more and more minutes, they can feel comfortable when they're coming into it. It's just another frustrating deal, but you try and look at least the style of play is going better. You look at the San Jose game. That was a game that we shouldn't have been anywhere near. We come out with a win. you look at this game, still feeling frustrated that we don't come out with any points, but you're at least liking the style of play. And really, majority of it that you can place it on right now is just simply down to one thing, and it's finishing. And if we can just somehow get some composure and a striker and confidence, I'm like you. I'd almost just rather have, especially if we're going back to that 4-2-3-1. And I'm not. This isn't like a shot at Klaus or even Betcher at this point. Like, I just want somebody who I know that is up top and their sole purpose is just to put the ball in the back of the net. I want a Ruud van Nistelrooy. I want somebody who's just like, they're going to be there. And as long as we can get them the ball, we do all the hard work. And as long as we can get them the ball, there's a high probability that ball is going in the back of the net. And especially in this league, I feel like that's a big, standout. You don't have, I don't feel like, as many like Bouangas where they also do the work, but they also finish it off. I feel like in this league, it's a lot of like the rest of your midfield will do the work, or your defense, or whatever it is, and then the Golden Boot race winners are usually that guy who's just up there, but he's up there because he puts the ball in the back of the net. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to be Klaus, and that's something we can rely on. Maybe if Klaus can start finishing these off and find that form that he had in the first couple weeks of the inaugural season, Klaus. But I do think going back and shifting back to a 4-2-3-1, which it seems like Critch has been saying pressers that fits this style the best and talked about in these games, I think he's right. I think it's – were you also a little shocked? Or, I mean, it came out and it seemed to be the right call, but looking at that lineup, I was almost anticipating Watts to be out on the wing and Hartle to be more central. Did you like seeing Watts more central, or would you have almost preferred the switch there?
I prefer Watts in the middle. I don't think he gets into the game enough when he's out on the wing. And maybe that was under the Olafs. He's definitely not a right back. That was always going to just blow up in their face. By the way, I was going to shout him out. Aside from the goal, I thought he had a great game. And I did not expect that. And maybe he will thrive in playing more of a free flowing style. I mean, he had some progressive dribbles, and he had the goal and another good chance on goal. No, I thought he filled in very admirably. And then Berkey was Berkey. He made some incredible saves in the second half. So
one thing I still cannot get over and just figure out, and it seems like he just does it better than most. I mean, and I'm including keepers that we watch over in Europe, that diving single arm out save, and just how that ball just always seems to just drop directly at his hands. Like, it's not like he does that save and it goes out for a deflection for somebody to follow up. Those saves to me, and that was the one that Twellman even kind of lost it on. I don't remember who took the shot, but diving out to his right, save, follow up with the backup save, he's back on the feet. But that first save, he's done that quite a few times throughout his time at City. How that ball just seems to drop dead and no follow-up off of that is just still something that I always find crazy impressive.
Yeah, he's as advertised, and he's delivered everything that we were promised about him and more, including the leadership and the distribution, which has been a big part of what I think is the increased opportunities in the last couple of games. So no points in Portland, but carry on, and got LA Galaxy next week at home, Saturday afternoon affair. So 3 points, hopefully, and a little more momentum moving into the summer.
Yeah, before we kind of get into that, one last thing I wanted to bring up from that game. I was curious on your thought, because it looks like, according to FOTMOT reports and everything, we'll probably be using him quite a bit. But I felt like Morales did a little bit better of job sticking with the six and not finding himself. And I think that's maybe why Watts looked so well and had that freedom with the dribbling. Is I don't feel like Morales got too out of control, far forward, trying to do too much. It seemed like he simplified his game, if anything, and just kind of played that position that we need in that six, that holding, and didn't get too far out. Did you feel that as well? Do you feel like, especially if we're going to see Leuven out for a while, Durkin out for a while, that could be like a complementary player to like a Watts or a Volum or even an Ostrak that are more you're looking to go forward?
I thought that the midfield looked good again, moving around, really using each other, linking up through the middle. Not a ton of bad giveaways. He had some good passes that released the front three. But I still think that he's a reserve player for a reason. I think he's best suited to be that late sub for the six, if Leuven needs it. But I mean, yeah, I thought he looked okay. He definitely is better off being in that sixth spot than trying to extend a little bit. Yeah, I thought he looked fine.
Yeah, yeah. So no points, but still trying to find some positives out of the game as City fall to Portland 2-1 out in Portland. And as Dave touched on, they look forward now to June 14th, where once again they'll have a day game because apparently that's the only time they're allowed to play the LA Galaxy at home is the daytime. And that game will be at 3:30, which we will cover in our STL Kalachi preview on our Thursday episode and kind of get you ready for that. But to get yourself ready for that and get yourself ready for all these day games, the hotter weather and being outside, we touched on it, how the hot weather could affect the players on the field, but can also affect the fans if you're not keeping yourself in shape and keeping yourself ready. And of course, the place to go do that and make sure you're ready every game day is Ready to Live Wellness. No matter what style training you're looking to do, they're going to make sure you're doing it in a proper and safe manner, because that's the most important thing, is making sure we're doing these things safe so that way you can keep on with your goals. And as well, all one-stop shop, they're keeping you healthy and safe with Pilates. They've just added, they've got body movement specialists, PTs, masseuses, so many good things going on there. They just hosted a powerlifting meet at the gym this past weekend. So many cool events. It's constantly going on. So no matter what you're looking to get into, they'll have you covered there and make sure you're getting your goals done for this summer. So you got to go check out Ready to Live Wellness. They're at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard, and as well on R2L Wellness on all their socials and online. And then again, if you're running through those sweaty shirts as these summer months are going up, maybe you got to bring multiples to these games so you can switch in, switch out, but you got to make sure you're still looking good. Dave, tell the people where they can go to get that wear.
Warrior Logo Wear will hook you up. 12 East Main Street, Mascoutah, Illinois. They're there to meet all your individual and team sportswear needs. If you need to double up on sweaty shirts, they can hook you up there. They also got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and team uniforms. They got promo swag. They can help you set up a custom web store. They help you with everything from the setup to the shipping, and even they help you design your own logo if you can't draw water. So there are no order minimums on those online stores. Perfect for any size event or company. No hidden costs. There's free store setups, and they will ship those products directly to you or your customers or employees. So check them out, 12 East Main Street, Mascoutah, Illinois. That's Warrior Logo Wear on all the socials. But on Instagram, they're at Warrior Logo Wear, all lowercase, at Warrior Logo Wear on Twitter, capital W, capital L, capital W, or at warriorlogowear.com, the official swag sponsor of the South End Supporters and the official uniform provider of DH's Friday Night Softball team. I'm sure he didn't play Friday because I think they went out of town for volleyball, but I would imagine it was probably another loss.
Yeah, I mean, if if indications kind of go as far as we're guessing on the result, and if anything, I'm hoping it stays for a loss, because you'd hate for the games that you don't show up to and then all of a sudden they get wins for. It kind of doesn't look as good. But
you think they picked up their first win when he wasn't there?
Boy, I'd be bummed for him, especially if the guy they brought in was like a ringer. Yeah.
It's a real shot to the ego, and I will say that from recent personal experience. I did not attend last Thursday's session opener, and I believe we played the champions from the last session, and I think we won. So that tells me that they clearly don't need me, and that's a bit of a shot to the ego. So yeah.
No, I'm sure all those names that they probably have to add to the roster each session because people show up less and less. Some of those guys are probably, maybe they're, the one team, maybe they took a lesson from the one team and realized, like, oh, if we can get former MLS players playing on this team, maybe we should go get, some ambush players or something like that to help us out or something. So we'll just say that you got replaced.
If they want to win that bad, yeah, that's fine. But it's all good.
There we go. So we'll transition now out of last week, and we'll get into some news and notes from the back post brought to you by Elite FT. Dave, you want to kick off the news and notes and let everybody also know about the best place to get their kids in training?
Absolutely. The premier youth sports training program in the Metro East, and they've been doing it since 2002. That is Elite FT at 101 The Game Drive inside the Sports Academy in Glen Carbon, Illinois. Their mission to provide a safe, educational, challenging, and fun environment where coaches can instruct and challenge athletes, helping them become confident, disciplined, and elite. Elite FT is committed to your athlete's success from the moment they lace up their first pair of cleats. We just signed Zoe up for a series of one-on-one trainings with Marin, who she's been doing training with for the last couple of years. She's super stoked about that. We're going to work on some short area quickness. We're going to work on some balance and strength on the ball. So really excited about that. They only do one-on-one trainings. That is one feature they have, but we have lauded the Bosco Buddies program. That's where you get the 2 and 3-year-olds started. Bosco's Buddies classes teach future superstars basic fundamentals while focusing on socialization, sportsmanship, and fun. They have programs and training for all ages, private and team training. Join their elite membership program for all those perks. Check them out, eliteft.com or Elite FT Soccer on all the socials, and their brick and mortar 101 The Game Drive inside the Sports Academy. Elite FT, confident, disciplined, elite. They also bring you the elite news and notes from the back post. We've got quite a bit to touch on this week. I will start in the City 2 world, where that team has turned it around quite well. Good to see the young guys doing their thing. They got selected as the MLS Next Pro Team of the Week for Match Week 13 after an unbeaten week, 3 straight without a loss, and they are tied for the top in the West. Not in small part to the MLS Next Pro Player of the Month. Our guy Makai Joyner got named MLS Next Pro Player of the Month on the back of his 4-goal game. He added 2 more in the month. He's out playing with the U20 national team. He's been coming up and doing some cameos for City. The kid has got such a bright future. So great to see Makai. And I think we talked about McSorley coming up. Mateo Kidd had a nice goal in the game. I believe it was on Thursday night through the rain or Friday night through the rain off a Jay Reed cross. The guys are flying right now, man, and it's a fun time to watch some younger guys really kind of grow into their own.
Yeah, no, I agree. And man, watching some of their finishes, it's just like you want to see maybe a little bit of players that are playing with a little bit of confidence and finishing off with that sort of composure and stuff. Some of these City 2 guys, they're where it's at, and
Yeah, they're
I think
playing with a lot of confidence.
We've said it many times on this show. You want to see somebody finish off the ball and confidence and everything like that. Watch Makai Joyner, because that guy, I think he was like player of the match month or something like that as well, like player of the MLS Next Pro month or something like that. Like
he was Next Pro Player of the Month. That was the news and notes, Eric. That was the note.
Didn't mean to step on your toe there.
It's okay. We just really wanted to talk about how cool it was that he won MLS Next Pro Player of the Month, and he absolutely deserved it. When you score that many goals, you kind of lose track of how good he actually is just as a player in general. He's not just a goal scorer. He's also a setup guy. He's a great hustler. Fun to watch. Can't wait to watch him be a regular for the top team someday.
Do we know where he's at in the Golden Boot race?
I don't have those notes with me.
I don't think they've put him out, but I don't think they've made him as regularly available as they did previous years. So maybe he's not in the race as a moment, and that's why they haven't been promoting it as much, because he missed. Man. He did
4 goals in one game. that probably got him up there.
I would imagine so too, but I'm also thinking he missed 3 weeks, or was it 4 weeks at least with City 2, because he was on short-term loans. So
that's a good point.
That could probably hurt you out a little bit if you're.
That's a really good point. I'll have to check in on it. We'll check in and report it on it next week. How's that?
There we go. I love it.
So let's move into a little more broad view of the soccer world. We'll start with a report from Tom Bogert. And Eric, we haven't even talked about this at all, but I do want to touch on it because I think it's a really kind of it's a kind of a gross look for the MLS, in my opinion. So the MLSPA, so the Players Association, has been going back and forth with the MLS on the Club World Cup bonus for the 3 MLS teams that have made the Club World Cup. It's LAFC, Miami, and is it Vancouver? Is Vancouver the third one, or is it Seattle?
I
I think it's
think it's
Seattle.
it's one of those two. I believe you're right.
So either way, the point being that they've been trying to come to an agreement on the compensation for the players, right? And the MLS is basically just kind of playing hardball with the MLSPA to the point where the some of the players wore shirts protesting the Club World Cup with the words "Club World Cup cash grab" and a pretty funny little logo. And I think that was Seattle doing that, if I look at that right. So it was reported by Tom Bogert that the MLSPA actually increased their negotiation position from asking for 20% performance-based prizes to 35 to 40%. And the reason being the MLSPA felt that the MLS owners made their offer worse as a punishment for the players having the audacity to speak up. So the Players Association made their offer worse too. So adults adulting. No, the long story short is, and I feel this way about every single sport, and I'm from a union family, and my wife's from a union family, and that kind of plays into my opinion on this, but this is more about the idea that the players are the product. And I would say this about the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, MLS, you name it, professional sport. Without the players, there is no product. Without the product, there is no revenue. So the idea that the MLS would try to play hardball with these guys because they had the audacity to speak out against, let's be very clear, what is the biggest cash grab, the biggest, not just
Yeah.
a cash grab, the biggest cash grab outside of the Super League that got shot down in the world of soccer, maybe the world of sports. It's absolutely absurd. This shouldn't be a tournament that's played. It's FIFA trying to be on the stage with UEFA, who's also a horrendously corrupt organization, some sort of rival Champions League. However, the games are all going to be on DAZN, which isn't like widely available outside of your phone. So, great marketing strategy. I guess they share their broadcasting marketing with Apple, but it's just gross, and it doesn't surprise me. It just seems like every league is just run by just absolute ghouls. I think Bernie Miklasz used to call the NFL the cartel, but it applies to all the ownership groups, which is why I'm always so amazed that the Baseball Players Association has such a stranglehold on the compensation of their players, and every single other major sports organization should model what they do after baseball. But nonetheless, it's really gross. I'm full players on this one. The players should get as big a piece of the pie as they can because they're leaving their club team in season. They're adding to their club schedule to play this useless tournament. And there's all this money on the line. I think there's over $1 billion in money being given out just through, I think the winners get like 120 million or something absurd like that. But we're going to come down on players because they have the audacity to protest a little bit.
Yeah, if you've been paying attention to like any of the, especially City players' stories this past week, it's been kind of echoed league wide as far as in like them talking about this type of stuff. And I'm in agreement with you. I mean, the players are the product, and the fact that you're adding to their schedule, it's easy for owners and all these people to be like, yeah, we'll just add on 5 more games. It's like, yeah, but go tell that to the players who also then have to train 5 more weeks. And we've just in City's short season so far this year, I've seen what training can do to the players' bodies and that type of stuff. It's just a pointless tournament. The fact that DAZN is the ones getting the rights for it. Oh, you mean we're going to have to go pay a subscription to go watch this? This isn't about growing the game and getting more exposure to it and all that type of stuff, which we've touched on many times with the Apple stuff. And it's all about the money. And if anything, it just sheds a bad light again on, those types of organizations and how corrupt they can be and all that type of stuff. And I hate every time you see this huge conflict between players and owners and, leagues and all this type of stuff. It's just, I think at the end of the day, it has to always come back to that point right there. Without the players, you have no product. And you could try and go a replacements route and go get some cheaper options, but the product's going to diminish, and then people are going to stop watching. You're going to start losing your money, and then it's going to be I think at the end of the day, Yeah, you're right. It's just like, how dare they speak up for themselves? This isn't going to be a deal where it's just like we say you do. It's going to be okay. Well, let's come to a compromise if you're going to have us doing all this type of stuff. So hopefully, it gets worked out in a reasonable manner. But hopefully, it favors the players if
And
anything.
on some of these teams, particularly these MLS teams, you have guys that are on the roster. They're not breaking the bank. These
Yeah.
performance bonuses, these victory incentives, they could change their lives completely. I think about a guy like Jay Reed, who it was reported last year when the salaries came out, he's making $70,000 a year. To and
Hmm.
now, don't get me wrong, getting paid 70 grand to be a professional soccer player, a lot of people would say, "What the hell are you complaining about?" This kid's starting for a professional soccer team. He's not some bench fodder. He's not a practice squad guy. This kid is a starter, and he's only making 70 grand. So, and I don't know what the salaries are on LAFC or Seattle or Miami, but I got to figure they have a couple of guys that are younger. I think that's like a U21 salary, maybe,
Something
or
like
like
that. Because
a,
I
a
think the
homegrown
league.
salary or something like that, where they can pay him that little money. Which is, by the way, it's an embarrassment that those players are only making that amount of money. But that could be life changing for some of these guys,
Oh yeah.
and they want to sit here and squabble over this, and it just shows you that this is one of the most unserious sports organizations in the world, and it will never level up. It will never be on par with the NBA or the NFL. It would be lucky to be on par with the NHL or Major League Baseball. But do you think like a week before, like a major postseason tournament, that those leagues would allow this squabbling and allow this PR hit right before it? No, it's just a joke. It's Don Garbage at his worst. And power to the people, power to the players, pay them what they deserve.
No, I'm with you all
Yep.
the way.
So we go from players that are underpaid to players that are severely overpaid as we moved in the international world. One thing I want to touch on real quick, positivity first wise. So the UEFA Nations League final was yesterday, Portugal and Spain. Portugal defeats Spain in penalties. It was 2-2 at full time. Crazy game. Ronaldo scored a goal. Nuno Mendes, probably the best left back in the world, plays for PSG, put Lamine Yamal in his pocket all game. Lamine Yamal's probably going to win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
It was a great game, a couple of great goals. Really hate to see the game go down to penalties, but Portugal, I think that's Portugal's like second win against Spain in like 22 tries or something insane like that. Like
Really.
it was cool. And the Nations League, it's never going to be like a major tournament to like rival the Euros or obviously the World Cup, but still very cool. And those guys, they took it seriously, man. That was a
Yes.
hard fought, really good game. All the stars were there, unlike our last bit of news and notes, unlike the United States men's team who lost to Turkey 2-1 on Saturday. Now, I will preface this with the point that you were not at your full team strength this game, and we'll get into more of the why and the if we have a problem with that later. But the team that you ran out is maybe going to be half of the starters that you're going to have when
If
you kick
that.
off next year for the World Cup. So here are the players that you were missing through injury, rest, paternity leave, whatever. So number one, Christian Pulisic, your captain, your goal scorer, your go-to guy. Weston McKennie, one of your best midfielders. Tim Weah, another one of your best midfielders. Yunus Musa, another one of your best midfielders. Folarin Balogun, probably your best nine. Ricardo Pepi, probably your second best nine. Josh Sargent, probably your third best nine. Joe Scally, your right back.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
starting right back. Anthony Robinson, you're starting left back. Serginho Dest used to be your starting right back, probably your number one right back off the bench now. All these guys were not in this friendly against Turkey. None of them are going to be on the Gold Cup roster. So they drop a game to Turkey, and the highlights of the game, real quick. So John McGlynn scored a banger
Hmm.
in the first minute of the game. Like Houston Dynamo, real young guy. Now he's. I saw where I think it was Fenerbahce is looking at him now after that goal. Now,
Oh
like
yeah.
he's having a great year. from all the scouting reports I read on him, he's very slow. So the European game might eat him up, but right now
Hmm.
he's just lighting it up, and he scored a banger of a goal in the first minute. U.S. They had the flow of this game. I watched most of the first half, and they had possession, they had flow, and then all of a sudden Johnny Cardoso tries an outside of the right boot pass in
Yeah.
his back line against the press, and Arda Güler, who is a forward for Madrid, it will probably be their top forward next year. Well, one of their top forwards besides Mbappe, but and Vinny, but it just hit him and went in the net, and all of a sudden it was 1-1, and 5 minutes later they scored again, and the United States had no answer for it, and they really didn't create any real chances in the second half. So that's not the story. The story is the fact that the usual suspects and one unusual suspect came out, and they were kind of chirping it before the game, but they really chirped it after the game because they smell blood in the water, and it's Fox, and Fox can't help but be just awful at soccer coverage, all of them, every single one of them. The biggest story is that the Alexi Lalas's of the world decided to pile on our men's players that decided that after their European slog the last 11 months of the season, that this game, these friendlies, this Gold Cup should be more important to them than their long term health. Not only that, but Christian Pulisic, I saw where he should be stripped of the captainship, and they should just bench these guys, and this is the squad that you should go to the World Cup with. I'm so sick of Alexi Lalas. For somebody who has achieved relatively nothing on the U.S. soccer spectrum, he's got so much to say, and I get it. He's a clickbait, guy.
Yeah. That's what it is.
He lives for the engagement, and he's a rage baiter and all that. I just am so sick of hearing. I kind of pay him no mind, but Landon Donovan came out and had to
Hmm.
say something about it. Not realizing, not having the self awareness that Landon Donovan missed out on a World Cup because he did the same thing that these guys are doing because he had a long, tough European season. So I think you know how I feel about this. I think these guys work their tails off for 11 months out of the year. Playing in Europe is hard physically and mentally. That's, they're whether or not they've been in Europe for months and months or years and years, it's a different culture. It's not their home. A guy like Pulisic gets the crap beat out of him every single game. When he was in England, he was the most fouled player in the Premier League by far. He's not a big guy anyway. You've got guys with nagging injuries. I think was it Yunus Musa's wife just had a baby. Dest is battling through injury. Like let's not make the Gold Cup like be the litmus test for like commitment to this team. I don't care about the Gold Cup. I don't care about the Nations League. I care about next summer and the World Cup that you're hosting. And if those guys are all in camp in the spring next year and they're all healthy and they're ready to roll into the World Cup, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Where you don't hear a big fuss about this is over in Europe.
No.
Like you see this all the time with friendlies. It's just a rotation of a lot of guys after these big hard seasons because they're kind of like these are pointless friendlies. Even a couple of I was seeing the Nations League, like it was some what rotated countries, and it was just because they just got off a full season, and it was just like these guys. To your point, I think Lawless is and a lot of these talking heads are just more rage baiters. They know what's going to get people talking about what they said. I saw Donovan say something about like you see that 40-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo out there and like this whatever and comparing him to like that.
Without the irony that he walked for 70 minutes, and his goal was great, but it was a poacher's goal. It wasn't like he worked hard for that goal. He was there, he shoved Cucurella out of the way and he buried it.
And he went off injured. So imagine that's your,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like it'd be I feel like the thing with them is it would be the same thing if those guys went out there, played, and got hurt. And
Can you imagine if Christian Pulisic tore his ACL
Look at
playing
Serginho
in
Dest,
a friendly
yeah.
against Turkey? Can you
look at
imagine the outrage?
Look at Serginho Dest. He was out for a year with an ACL, and we're still going to see like the other thing too is like some of those injuries, man. Like it can be they may not be the same player when they come back. Like if
Yeah.
anything, like when I'm looking at friendlies and like this type of stuff is like to your point, the biggest stage is going to be in our backyard in the next year. You want to represent yourself as best you can with the best 11 that you can. Like you don't you just it's a friendly. It's a friendly. Like what are we getting
Yeah.
so worked up
And
about and all
yeah.
this type of stuff? And I mean, really you look at it if there weren't a few like weird mistakes and USA wins that game, nobody's saying anything. But yeah, to your point, trying
Yeah.
to outside the foot in your own box, cross
Yeah.
field when there's people there,
Man,
it's like,
I like Johnny Cardoso too, but I did think it was just absurd that everybody was calling on him to start over Tyler Adams and Musa and Weah. Like, you're high. Like, he's a good player, but you're absolutely high if you think that dude should be a starting midfielder. Like, he's good. He's got time to grow. He's had a great season for Betis. I think I saw that it was at Atletico Madrid wants him now. Like, yeah,
oh
man, like
really?
climb that ladder, please do. But you've got time. you
Yeah.
you don't have to throw him into the men's team. I think the outrage is more about the lack of participation in the friendlies and the Gold Cup combined to try to get that chemistry they haven't been able to find. And there's a world where I see that, but it's not, to me. It's not. It's the wrong hill to die on to me. Now, if you don't have those, like I said, if you've got those guys skipping out on that stuff in the spring next year, then you've got a problem. But Poch is in kind of a no-win situation because he's got short time to get this team ready. He hasn't had 3 years since 2 years since the last one, which was another decision. But it's U.S. soccer, so why would you make the right decision? But he wants to get the team ready. But you've got to let these guys have some sort of rest. You just got to do it, man. So
No. Yeah, I agree. And you
yeah,
see that with players all the time taking that rest postseason because those seasons are long, they're hard,
yeah. It's
and
a
they're grueling
if
on the
this was in a
body.
if this was in a month, if this was in July, which God, that'd be awful. If it was in July, the Gold Cup. If this was in July, a lot of those guys would be there, but their
Yeah.
season just ended, and Bruno's season just ended. Ronaldo's season just ended. Ronaldo plays in the softest league in the world. Like
Yeah.
there's without a doubt, the Saudi league is the softest league in the world. So
Yeah.
let's just throw that out there. I don't want to hear that argument, but
Yeah.
there's
No, I'm with you.
that's all I've got for this week's elite news and notes from the back post.
I got a couple more just stuff
Okay.
that we didn't touch on before. It happened like literally after we put the episode out. But if you didn't see, Nokby Thorson will join Sparta Rotterdam on a permanent basis as they decided to pick up his option to buy. So I'm sure many people throughout the fan base were very bummed to see that news based on everything they were saying while he was here. So, you know
He
what?
was
I haven't
he was
really
so
kept up as
polarizing.
much. Yeah, I haven't
So
kept up as
polarizing.
much with him, but I think he's doing okay.
Yeah,
Not setting
good
the
for
league on
him.
fire, but you know what? Sometimes it just takes for that player to go find a system, a team, a league, whatever it may be that works for them, and you can't say like, oh, if they were here or if they were not. But to me, at the end of the day, I just want to see players playing their best, and if he's happy there, and it seems that way, and I think he still wouldn't be like somebody who would have changed the season for us
Yeah,
anyway.
I agree.
So good on him.
He he's very. You wouldn't think of it to look at the dude that he'd be as polarizing as he was, but man, it was either Thor's great and we need to play him more, or Thor sucks, cut him. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy, and we're in early days still of these cycles of these transfer players and these pickups to where it's like all we have to go on a lot of these guys, particularly that are coming from these fringe leagues or maybe these not as highly televised leagues. Like, shit, even the Bundesliga too. Like all we have are highlight packages for the
Yeah,
most part. We
yeah,
never really watch these guys play,
yeah,
so we get this big rush of highlights and oh man, he's coming in, he's coming to bury goals, and it's like, well, he was playing against St. Mary's Finnish School for the Blind or something like that. Like we just we don't have enough experience as a fan base to like temper our expectations. So
yeah.
no,
I'm
good for
sure.
him. I hope he's doing much better. He was fun to watch. I thought he had some great moments. I thought he had some not so great moments. Yes, moments.
Yes, you're exactly right. What we get is highlight packages a lot of the times, and I think you and I could put together a Thursday night league highlight package, and people would be like, they
Oh,
got to go
that'd be a
get
short
those
video.
guys.
That'd be a
Eh,
short video
well, sometimes it's just about how you're looking for quality. We'll just get different angles from the same goals that people
of the
don't
same
realize.
goal.
Yeah, make it look good. Another story I have is City announced that they will be doing again the City Sprint 5K race presented by BJC Healthcare. So if you're looking to get in, I think they did this the inaugural year and then took off last year, if I'm correct. But don't miss your chance to run through St. Louis City's world-class stadium district and cross the finish line on pitch side at Energizer Park. So pretty cool. Get to run a 5K. I think you get a shirt, a medal. I think also the earlier you sign up, the cheaper the fees are. And then later, as you get closer to race time, the fees will go up. But that race will take place on October 19th, Sunday, October 19th. I believe it's at 9 a.m. So hopefully we start getting into a little bit more of that fall weather. So it's a nice, cool race for you there. But cool thing. You get to, finish line at the on City Park. I think you get a picture of you crossing the finish line as well. They said like you can bring strollers and stuff like that as well. So just sounds like another cool event that they'll be doing. I'm sure I'll probably plan on doing it. Maybe I can.
Let's sign David up for it.
Yes, let's do it. I think they said in the thing clearly and distinctly, you can walk this 5K. He said he's not a runner. So maybe
October 19th, that's far enough out. He could learn how to run it.
Maybe we gotta give. Maybe we see the problem with David is he doesn't go off of you can't challenge him because he'll just be like,
no, he won't.
Like no
He just
matter
won't.
what,
Yeah.
you can't. I remember one of our first nights at Felix's, the manager who was working the time was like, I got shots, and he's like, no. And that shot sat there the entire. She called him every name in the book and everything, and he just still sat there like, no. He is a man that when he will not do it. So there's not like we could say like, if you do under this time, we'll do X whatever. He'd just still be like, no, I don't
No,
care.
there's no shaming him into it.
No,
Sure.
no. And then I got one last thing that I just kind of wanted to touch on a little bit. We're not really a stats style podcast, but I just got a couple stats here. 2 every second, 2,973 a day, and 696,800 a year. So if you don't know those stats, those are stats of men who take their lives every year. This is June, and it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Sort of a touchy subject for a lot of people, but just kind of wanted to put that out there. Just if anybody's needing to talk, reach out, going through a tough time, there's always going to be somebody out there for you. You may think that people are too busy or don't have the time or don't care enough, but trust me, there's people out there that care, and it's a tough month for a lot of people. So just wanted to highlight that. We didn't get to touch on it last week, but I think it's something that's pretty important to us here, and just wanted to put that out there for everybody. So Dave, on top of that, anything else you want to add before we get out of here tonight?
No, I love that. I think the biggest thing with mental health, and I think we all have some levels of anxiety, depression, things that might go undiagnosed, along with the people that deal with severe problems enough to where they need therapy and medication and things. But just know that the stigma of the shame of having to go get treated, that's a complete myth. We got to work to break the stigma that admitting to having issues with anxiety and depression makes you, somewhat weak. I know that's more of like a male thing and a masculine, I don't need help. I mean, go talk to somebody, talk to a friend, a neighbor, us, reach out to us, man. Get the help that you need, get the help that you deserve. Nobody deserves to live in a world where they're, always, inside their own head. I mean, I don't claim to have some severe, problems, but I've got anxiety. We've got nobody's perfect, and it doesn't make you not a man. It doesn't make you not a confident person, man or woman, to ask for help. So go get help for your own sake. Don't do it for anybody else, but for you. And know that there are people that care about you, even if they don't know you. I'll just throw that out there. The South End supporters care about you even if they don't know you. So go do
Yeah.
that. I love it. Also, happy Pride Month. I hung my
Yes.
flag up outside, but I had my trans pride flag that was hanging right here. So happy Pride Month to everybody. I think City is planning on celebrating that this Saturday against LAFC. So more to come on that. But to all our LGBTQ plus friends and all the allies of the community, again, we see you, we support you. Love is love. Be who you are. All that good stuff. So, and South End supporters love you too. So,
Yeah,
good
that's
stuff.
one of the things that I have found the most my favorite thing about doing this show is just realizing the amount of groups that like you wouldn't think care about anything you do, but the amount of roller grill items that we get tagged in because they know it's or simple stuff like that
Yes.
that people you'll find, and that's one thing that I love. No matter what you have to say about like supporter groups or people, online and everything like that, at the end of the day, we're all fans together, and there's somebody out there, a group for anybody, and people out there that do care. So we want to thank you guys so much for listening. We also want to thank all our sponsors for supporting the show. We'll start out with our title sponsors, and that's first off, we'll go with R2L Wellness. Make sure you go check them out at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard and online at R2L Wellness. And as well, make sure you're looking good all throughout the year with Warrior Logo Wear. Go check them out at 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah, Illinois. As well as you got those news and notes from the back post from Elite FT. Go check them out at 101 The Game Drive in Glen Carvin or at eliteft.com. Get those kiddos interested in the game. This next episode that we'll have coming up later in the week, we'll have that STL Kolache preview. Go get you some kolaches and make sure you go to the 1530 South Kirkwood Road, St. Louis location. And as well, we will have those Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions, which we personally here look forward to so much each week. And go check them out, as well as a great place to go watch every game because they are an official City on Tap bar at 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. So, for myself, Eric Cole, for the Monday Morning Center back, Dave Wyckoff, and for our buddy DH, you've been listening to South End Supporters. We'll see you next week, and until then, let's go City.